Hello there. Today we are going to be making a very tasty, very easy espresso signature beverage. However, we are not going to be using an espresso machine. We'll be making use of some mysterious other thing that I'll talk about more here in a minute. This drink is very summer and spring appropriate. It is very easy to make, so without further ado, let's talk about the tools we'll need, the ingredients we'll need, and let's make the thing. So, be right back.
I want to give a huge thank you to Helix for sponsoring today's video. So, here is a very true and slightly embarrassing fact about me. I slept on the same mattress for over 18 years. It was a little twin-size box spring that I took with me to college, and I will tell you what, it turns out that investing in a good mattress actually does kind of change your life. I've had a Helix mattress now for over a year, and we recently added their memory foam mattress topper to it as well. Not only does it feel like I sleep on a cloud every night, but it has dramatically reduced my ever-present back pain. Now, Helix's sleep quiz matches you based on your body type and sleep preferences, and the one that Graham and I got paired with was the Helix Midnight Luxe with the Glaciotex cooling cover. But just like we all have different sleeping behaviors, Helix has many different options, and they also provide free shipping in the US. So if you're ready to get the best sleep of your life, now is the time, because until May 31st, they have a special Memorial Day offer. Head to the top link in the description to get 27% off site-wide, plus a free bedding bundle with any Luxe or Elite mattress order. That's helix.com/MDC for this limited time offer. And thank you again to Helix for sponsoring today's video.
Oh boy, it is tray time, everyone. Let's start with tools and move into ingredients. What we're making today is going to be both chilled and shaken, so you will need some sort of cocktail shaker. I'm using a 2-piece Boston tin here, however, you can use whatever you have. Additionally, with it being shaken, we will need some straining implements. I'll be double straining this drink both to remove any final ice and also improve the texture. However, you can single strain it if this is all you have. I'm gonna do my best here to kind of give reasonings for why I'm using what I'm using, but also giving some workarounds if you don't have all of these things. However, we're keeping it pretty simple because really the only other thing you need for this drink, I love doing that, is going to be a milk frother of some sort. This is a key part that will make this drink's texture both very achievable and also very easy. Now, I suppose the last thing that I will kind of qualify as a tool is going to be a small mortar and pestle. However, this comes with a big caveat. So for this drink, we are going to be making a garnish of freeze-dried raspberry dust. Using a mortar and pestle to very quickly, as you can see, I do this often, grind up your freeze-dried raspberries is a very fast method. However, if you don't have one of these, do not fear. You can simply put your raspberries into a plastic bag and crush them up that way. I suppose this last thing is not so much a tool, more a necessity. You will need some type of glassware for this drink. I prefer to use something like a small coupe, a Nick and Nora, something like stemmed and just kind of fancy to add to this drink. However, it's a drink. You just need a glass. You need something you can hold a liquid in. Okay. Ingredient time. Now, I mentioned that we don't need an espresso machine, and that is because we are explicitly using instant espresso powder. This differs from instant coffee. This has a much more concentrated profile and also reacts to create a sort of faux crema on top. Now, instant espresso and most instant coffees are not something I traditionally gravitate towards drinking on their own. However, I really like using them in signature drinks or when traveling due to specifically their convenience, but also the predictability of their flavor. Specifically with most non-specialty instants, they tend to have this very consistent, roasty, dark, chocolatey coffee flavor. Again, not what I typically drink on its own. However, using it in combination with other ingredients can create something super tasty. Also, very accessible at this price point. So we're going to be using Medaglia d'Oro instant espresso powder. I will say one more time, be conscious that we're using instant espresso powder and not instant coffee. So we'll use this. I feel like I have hedged that enough for all of you. Our next ingredient is orange juice. Now, I may have lost some of you, but just hang with me. trust the process here. You will need raspberry syrup. You can use whatever you would like. Specifically, what I have here is Liber & Co.'s raspberry gum syrup. You can use a standard syrup as you want. With this being a gum syrup, it's going to lend a little bit more body and texture to the drink, but that's just like a nice extra thing that we get out of it. I've made this with a lot of different syrup types. It'll work fine. Last thing is going to be cardamom bitters, which is going to add a very nice kind of spiced profile and tie everything together. If you're not familiar with bitters, these are made using alcohol. We're using a very, very small amount. However, if this type of ingredient is a deal breaker for you, you can absolutely remove them without totally destroying this drink. I think this beverage tastes a lot better with these cardamom bitters, but you will have something that is still very nice if you choose to remove them. Okay, let's make a beverage. Starting off, our freeze-dried raspberry garnish. You can make and save and sprinkle these on simply with a spoon. However, I have a little shaker here that will add them to. Get yourself some freeze-dried raspberries, however much you want. Just give them a nice good crush. All done. Next, let's prepare our espresso shot. Now, you can follow the instructions on your instant espresso as per the brand. However, I want to end up with about 2 ounces of instant espresso in total. So, using Medaglia d'Oro, I'm going to add about 1.5 grams of our powder. I've got water heated here to about 185 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to be adding about 55 mils here. Give that all a little stir. And you can see there's this kind of like crema on top. It's very, very interesting. It's a fun little side effect of this instant espresso. This is gonna work just fine. Okay, let's do some assembly. I'm gonna build everything into our smaller tin first. To begin with, about 2 ounces of instant espresso. Or if you're someone that has an espresso machine, a full double shot of freshly pulled espresso. I'm now adding about 1.5 ounces of our orange juice. Please, for the love of God, use no pulp orange juice. Otherwise, you will be in for a very nasty textural surprise. I'm going to use about 3/4 ounces of our raspberry syrup. And finally, 3 good dashes of our cardamom bitters. A little bit more, a little bit less, depends on what you prefer, but 3 is a nice amount. We are essentially going to be doing a dry shake and then a wet shake. A dry shake is simply shaking without ice. However, if you'll remember, we have quite a few very warm ingredients. Well, we have one warm ingredient, but it is very warm. If we try to shake with this ingredient at the temperature that it's at, we're not going to create a seal and you're going to have an explosion of your shaker. Do not ask me how I know. Well, you can. I've broken quite a few shakers on myself. However, this is where our milk frother comes into play. Essentially, we just want to agitate this until a nice frothy foam forms on the top. And it's going to form because of that instant espresso or your traditional espresso. Coffee has a lot of fats and oils that react and kind of like foam up really nicely in combination with other ingredients. So, similar to an espresso martini, that is the texture we are aiming for. You should see a kind of foam form on top pretty quickly. I would froth for about 10 to 15 seconds. Now, we have a warm, frothy drink right now. We want a cold, frothy drink. I'm gonna go grab some ice. In one tin, we have our still pretty warm, frothy beverage. In one tin, we have a whole bunch of ice. Now, when we shake these two together, we're gonna continue aerating, we're gonna be chilling the drink, and we're also gonna be diluting it down as that ice melts. This is an important part. Right now, our flavors are pretty dang strong. You get a lot of that espresso bite, but by adding some water through the melting of our ice, we're gonna have something that is a lot more balanced and consistent across each sip. So, shake to your heart's content. Now that my shakers are all frothy, we're good to strain. Now, here comes the fun part. We are so close to getting to enjoy this. Okay, I think we're okay. I have done myself a disservice by pouring a little aggressively and really reaching the edge of my cup. I do not know what the meaning of a waterline is. Okay, we have something of lovely texture right here. However, it's now time for our raspberry dust. Dust liberally. And there you have it. When I originally made this drink, I named it Summer Rosaceae. This sounds very similar to rosacea, but it's actually the family that rose bushes and raspberries belong to. And it felt kind of appropriate, along with the fact that with the raspberry dust on top, it kind of looks like this drink is blushing. But let's enjoy. I'm pretty proud of this drink. I think this is a really, really tasty beverage, on top of it being a really nice showcase of what you can do with pretty cheap ingredients. This is a drink that, in terms of texture, is very similar to an espresso martini. You are sipping through this lovely, thick layer of foam and froth on top, and then underneath, you get to a drink that kind of tastes like orange candy. You don't necessarily get quite as much raspberry flavor in the drink. The raspberry is primarily on the nose because of this dust. However, inside you have that sweet, almost candied tart orange. You have that deeper chocolate note of the espresso, and it's just really nice. This demands to be sipped outside in a beautiful garden. Now, if any of you want the full recipe written out, I will include a link to that in the description down below. Additionally, if you want more fun coffee beverages, you can find those at morgandrinkscoffee.com. This has been a lot of fun. I am so excited to go finish this. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye, everyone.